So, guys, we're kind of doing this as an experiment. Before Donnie joined, me, Gov, and this other guy would get together in the early days of the show, and we kind of just watched NBA games live, and that was kind of our idea. We kind of just came on live, and we watched games, and we would do lineups sometimes, and it was really chaotic and not productive, and it just didn't get good views. Maybe that was because we were a newer channel. One of the problems with NBA is a lot of the news comes out last minute, and a lot of shows either they'll do an hour before lockdown or they'll do a half an hour, but they're so pressured and they're so we're talking about a lot of touts, a lot of professionals that have a lot of money in the line. So when that's the case, a lot of times it's harder to produce content and be entertaining when there's so much money on the line and so much is changing so quickly. I was willing to sacrifice $1 if this doesn't work out. I more want to show you guys the process of what it looks like for two guys who really love the NBA, who appreciate it, how quick and how different this lineup build is versus the NFL. Because you see how we do drafts, we'll kind of make a fun week out of it. We'll have two shows around the NFL. You can't really do that with the NBA. I do think it's a fun kind of experiment, but you're going to find out in the next 15 minutes. A lot's going to change. This is the example of my lineup early this afternoon.
I have an example lineup as well on my end that I can put up if you want to switch to that every so often. Yeah, but right now, I got like a couple of guys that I'm not locked in on, but I'm pretty sure I'll play, and then we'll see what else happens. So this is where I'm at.
Does that make sense? I mean, we can get into the grassroots of this slate specifically, but I almost want to talk about it more from a skeleton key of like, this is what an NBA night looks like. Exactly. I don't know if we're going to get it right, but this is what it looks like. Because we get it in the NFL a lot. People are like, well, what's the difference between showdown and classic slate? Or what's the difference? And a lot of times we don't always have the opportunity to show you different slates or different sports. And I thought this would be a good night to do it because it is a weekend and we knew we had tonight open. Unfortunately, people might not know this, Donnie, but Gov is a huge NBA guy. Like, that might be his number one sport. He really loves it. He's a numbers guy, so NBA does tend to go more projection-based. As you'll find out, like the minutes, we're going to play guys I might not even know or don't even really like.
Might not even played an NBA game in their life. We might end up playing them.
Yeah. I mean, the way the injuries are looking for the Utah Jazz, for example, and the Brooklyn Nets, I do think that's a very likely possibility. Or even like, you might not even say they're the most talented, or they'll never make an all-star team. But
there is legitimate nights where you might end up being able to play Bronny James, and it's a good play, just based on how NBA is load management-wise, injury-wise. And you can't be mad at it. Like,
I mean,
anyone could do anything.
He was an extreme end of that spectrum, Donnie, but your point is still valid. There are nights where you're going to wake up in a morning, this morning, for example, I didn't know any guys we were going to play when we were filming our NFL review show. I had no lineup because I just feel like that's a bad mistake. Now a guy like Aaron Gordon, who I also have in my lineup, I see you did as well.
I just pressed on his questionable tag. He will be playing, it seems.
He's probable, and that's why his price is so low, is because he was priced down because right before the injury, he didn't play as well. He got injured. So the numbers or the machines at DraftKings are going to push him down because they're going to just look at the computerized version of it and say he's not putting up the stats to be 5K anymore. But if
LeBron is always questionable. Is he going to play? Probable. So he will play.
Well.
I feel like this is how I want to play it, especially if Jamal Murray's out. Westbrook is a lock. You have to play Westbrook. Yeah. I feel like me and you both agree with that.
I would agree with that.
I almost never avoid you. If Jokic plays, I pretty much play him, especially when he doesn't have a center against him. That's like crazy. So that's two Denver guys, which kind of means you need to give at least a Laker in there. I don't know who that Laker would be. I put Jackson Hayes for now, but that will definitely change. Maybe not, but at least something Laker-wise will change.
I'm going with the talent wins out scenario tonight, where I'm going to play Luka Doncic, I think, at lower ownership, because he's at such a high price. People will want to play Lonzo Ball. They'll want to play LeBron James, who's a bit cheaper. They'll want to even go say, like, oh, if I'm going to take a chance on a guy who's been injured and inconsistent, I'd rather play Embiid. Where I think Luka's played with the Lakers now. The rest management, I think, was a more conditioning thing. It's like, okay, we want to get you back, your legs under you again, and then we'll give you another day off, and then we'll ramp you up. I think we're about to see peak Luka Doncic. Will it be good enough? Is he overpriced? Yes, but in a 4-game slate, which we're going to talk about, has a lot of value. Utah bigs are questionable right now. We could get a lot of 3K guys out of Utah. Yep. Same with Brooklyn. There's a lot of 3K guys. So this is a slate that's small, which is rare, a 4-game slate. Usually they're like 12 or 8 games. This is only 4, and there's a lot of value in different games. Donnie, you kind of talked about playing the 2 Denver guys. It's not like we're playing 2 3K guys from the Brooklyn Nets to jam in value.
There will be a 3K guy here.
Yeah.
Right now, it's Martin for me because I think he will start.
If Martin starts, he'll be in there for me. Right now, I have Wilson, who I think is projected the starter. He's a small forward, kind of power forward hybrid, very versatile.
Well, Cam Thomas is out, so someone's going to have to take the 2 role because if Cam Thomas is out and D'Lo's out,
yeah,
you figure Keon Johnson starts.
In my lineup, you'll see it. I have it as Hayes. So because they just picked up Killian Hayes, people might not.
I don't think Killian Hayes will play just because
he's already played.
I know he has played, but I don't think he'll start.
He might not.
It is his first. That was his first day with the team, basically.
That was his first day with the team. I'm betting on the talent, and being from Michigan, I've seen a lot of what Detroit wanted from this guy. I thought he had all the abilities, very much kind of like the Luka situation, where it's like for whatever reason the team didn't like him, they didn't like his personality, they didn't like his conditioning. Obviously, not comparing the talent, but there was a lot of that same conditioning concerns, a lot of that same is he bought in concerns. The talent, I don't think was ever a concern. So on a team that's desperate for talent, Killian Hayes is interesting, and like you mentioned, he is just now a recent addition to that team. So a lot of the casuals might not know him. A lot of people might still remember him on Detroit, and that's been quite a while now. So I'm taking advantage.
It's been quite a while since he had notable minutes on a team, yes.
Exactly.
And I've been a Killian Hayes guy. I didn't really understand when he fell out of the league how he's been out for so long.
And sometimes I outsmart myself, Donnie. You'll see it in even our season 1.
We are going to have a huge miss, and it's not going to be our fault. There's going to be a 3K to 4K guy that has 25 points, and it was just unpredictable. That's how the NBA is, and that's fine.
And that's also just how I build too, as just a builder. I will take chances. Tonight, I think my chance is on Killian Hayes. I would say also the ownership of NBA is very different. A lot of people think 30% owned is a lot, but because the new changes so quickly, if someone is 3K and they're projected to get 30 minutes, that's huge in the NBA. You could have a 3K wide receiver in the slot, for example, in the NFL, Donnie. Name a Philadelphia Eagle Jahan Dotson, for example, played a lot of snaps in the playoffs for the Eagles. Still was never a good fantasy player because he never got the opportunities. But minutes in the NBA are so dominant. You get minutes in the NBA, you will put up some points. Accidentally, you'll grab a rebound. You'll accidentally get an assist. Things like that will happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's just right now, this is the worst time to be just sitting and waiting. Yeah. I want to see that those check marks start to click in.
Okay, we got a starting lineup for the Sixers. It's Maxey, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Olynyk, George, and Bede.
I pull it up there.
Yeah, I thought it was up. My fault.
It might be.
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah, it is. I can make it even larger, I think. So
Grimes is too expensive at this point.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the starters. I just don't like Philadelphia starters right now. Brooklyn starters are also out. They just dropped. And it's Keon Johnson. Killian Hayes is starting, so he's a lock now. Okay. Z Williams, is that Zaire? That is Zaire. Oh my God, when did he get to Brooklyn?
Yeah, he was in Memphis. He's in Brooklyn. I got it up on the
Cam Johnson's playing.
It's Cam Johnson and Clarkson, right?
And Claxton. Yeah, Claxton's playing in no Clowney. So the backup center is probably Dayron Sharp.
So that's a good point because, Donnie, I think you could play Claxton here and be happy with it. I'm playing. See, I think I'm going to take the ownership chance here, and I'll show my lineup here in a second, and play Clifton because I think Clifton's actually going to get the start. But if we get Robert Williams news in Portland, that could change it. So I'm taking a bit of a chance here because if Robert Williams is rolled in, I don't think Clifton would get as many. Cleon, sorry, would get as many minutes. But that's a chance I'm going to take. So would you play Claxton and just lock it in because he's guaranteed the starter now, or do you think I'm actually going about it the right way?
I don't want to play Killigan in my personal.
Right. So would this be a situation where you don't play Killian Hayes?
I'm playing Killian Hayes. At 3,600 starting, I love the talent. I'm going to buy into it. But I'd rather wait to see. I'm going to push it as long as I can personally because I want to see if I can get a lineup from Portland.
Yeah,
I really want to see.
I just think Cleon is more of a he's more talented, right? He's younger. I think he's got more.
No. Robert Williams is probably the more talented player, but he's never
out of Claxton.
Oh yeah,
they're in a
Killigan's
similar
more
range.
talented. Yeah,
right. They're in a similar range. So I do think now the problem is I want to play Embiid because I think he is too cheap, and I think people will not want to play him tonight because of Joker. If they're building a similar lineup to me, paying down at point guard, playing Hayes, they're paying down at another cheap spot like Wilson here, for example, paying for two, basically 3K players. I think they're going to say, well, let me get the big Joker, let me get the highest upside guy. If I pay slightly down and get Embiid, I think that makes me different. And I don't know. I know you're not a huge Philadelphia guy, but you're not biased either. I don't know if there's a huge difference between Joker and Embiid when it comes to fantasy points. They play different.
There is.
You think so?
I mean, what's the average? Right now, Embiid's averaging 45 compared to Joker's 66. That's a big difference. I mean, that's a huge difference.
This year because of load management and minutes.
No, that's averages. He has to just play. Like, if he plays, that's the only way it affects his average.
Okay, but I said price per dollar. Now remember, Joker is like $2,000.
I didn't realize that he was only 94. That is really cheap.
That's what I'm saying. Is I'm not saying they're the same. Like if they would price the same, I would play Joker 100%. People might not know this. I'm probably the biggest Joker fan on earth that's not in Denver, Colorado. So I love Joker, but Embiid this price is what's also interesting while we're on this team is Paul George. He's been very disappointing, and he hasn't played well with Embiid, but he finally came back. They desperately want to try to make the playoffs, I think, with this roster, and he did play better in that return, but he has been super inconsistent the rest of the season. So I want to stay away from Paul George.
I'm not into Paul George. He's legitimately, I don't say this about many players, and I know it's harsh on most guys. He is more concerned about his podcast at this point. He is checked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you could tell. It's not his thing.
You can go with that narrative and you wouldn't be wrong, Donnie, but the problem is his price keeps dropping. So I know people will be interested because he is under 7K now. But I agree with you. He's not the superstar he once was. Let me update this and make sure, because this is how quick it does move. Like we get one starting line, but you have to adjust. So if we were to look at this lineup, though, so anyone from the Sixers or the Brooklyn Nets is a must. For me,
Killian Hayes is the must, yes.
We talked about Killian Hayes. So do you think I should get Wilson out of the lineup? I think if I update this.
Yes. You're still on my screen for the lineups right now, but
that makes sense. I did update it though.
Jabari Smith is interesting if he gets to start.
He played 39 minutes. He's been injured. He's kind of had that Aaron Gordon injury, but when he plays well. He plays a lot of minutes. He got 38 minutes on his return. They said there was no minutes restriction. He played 38 minutes. Now the problem is now that we're seeing so many games, in concession here, he might start to get a minutes restriction because he did come back off an injury, Donnie. Problem is they have a lot of injuries as well. Fred VanVleet's going to miss this game. Eason's going to miss this game. A younger power forward they liked, and Tate's going to miss this game. And then I'm not going to trust Jeff Green, who is very aged at this point, to play any meaningful minutes. So I love Smith.
I like Jabari Smith.
Sengun is also on our best ball team, so we like him. I mean, we've proven that. He is very underpriced at this point too. If I didn't play Embiid, I would probably play Sengun, but I also like playing Jalen Green in my lineup potentially. So that's also why I'm not going to go with Sengun, because playing 3 Houston guys I think would be a mistake. I would say playing on a 4-game slate though, you can play heavy one game if you think that game's going to score a lot of points. I just don't want to trust it with Houston and Utah. I could see blowout potential there.
I mean, Houston should run away with that one.
So you're right. I probably should get Wilson out now that he's not the starter. I'm not a big Zaire Williams guy. He does get minutes, but I don't know if he does that much with them. I thought Wilson might be kind of sneaky, but obviously I'll get off of that. Anything stick out to you when it comes to, now that we have the start, like
try to refresh. See if I
like the feed on Twitter. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, and just in general, see if any lineups have come through, because it's time where the Lakers and Denver lineups have to be through.
Well, that's a good point that we should mention, Donnie. Sometimes we get a lot of 7:30 games, and you'll have to really be more fast-paced. Tonight's a more staggered night, so you might have an advantage if you wait on news. Like, some of this news is not going to come out in time. Like, I don't expect a Lakers starting a lineup. I don't expect a Portland starting a lineup. Or obviously,
that's right. It's 7:30
because it's so staggered. So you have to take advantage of that, which also means you're going to take risk. Like, you're not always going to get it right. You have to take a risk. We're taking a risk with Claxton and Cleon from Portland, because if Williams isn't rolled in, that does change the minutes projection. I just think Cleon's a lot better of a talent.
Yeah.
I do have to move off of Wilson, though, it looks like. But while I got you, Donnie, what do you think between LeBron James and Luka? If you had to play one of them, would you play LeBron? Because that's kind of why I'm also playing Luka. I think people would play LeBron.
I think Luka's stock is dropped. I'm actually, in my lineup, I just switched it to have Embiid and Joker, because I feel like that's going to be different. How do you do that? You have to put one of them at utility.
No, but I know you can actually get it in your lineup, probably physically. But I'm saying, like, what are you punting that you actually feel comfortable doing that?
Probably Dorian Finney-Smith's a big punt. I want to get off Watford for somebody cheaper. Like, cheaper guys, there will be one more cheap guy to come about in these lineups. Yeah. I just need to hope it's this game or this game.
I will say, what am I trying to say here? Charlotte. Smith looks like another cheap option if you needed a 4K guy.
Smith? Who is it? Oh. I didn't realize they had so many injuries here.
Yeah, Nick Smith Jr. They got so many injuries. He was playing point guard last year for them.
Who's playing? Who does he play for?
Charlotte. He was playing point guard for them last year, Donnie. Now he's playing shooting guard, small forward. That tells you that they've moved up the rotation and positioning just because they have so many injuries. Now, Alonzo Ball's back, so he probably won't take that guard minutes, but he still might get small forward minutes. So
see, right now, if you look at my lineup, I'm in an awkward spot. Like, I know I could fit this. I just need to find the other cheap guy.
I truly think Aaron Gordon is a lock, being probable at 4,800. That's just too low.
Okay, so if I put in, I'm on Lakers now. If I put in Aaron Gordon, that leaves me with 5K at the 2 guard.
Keon George from the Utah is interesting. He's 6,200. I'll pull him up as well. I think I'm up.
Sharp was only playing 20-ish minutes, depending on injury days. I don't want to play another net. See, Nick Smith really does kind of just slide in there if he gets good playing time.
This is an interesting kind of night to do this, though. And like I was saying, Donnie, because it's so staggered, even the first game is 7:30. The next one is 8:30. That's a huge stagger. So we have the check mark for one game, and then so much of it is a question. So does that matter to you? Do you like say, well, I think Logan's going to mess up here, or I think Gov will mess up here. I'm going to play the guys late on the slate on purpose. Like, do you play more Lakers? Do you play more Portland? Because you're like, if I'm right about my projections, I'm going to get these guys at lower ownership. Because I do think that will happen. You will get those guys at lower ownership.
Well, I mean, if you look at this lineup right now, Killian Hayes starting is awesome.
Yep.
We know that Nick Smith will get minutes. We don't know how many, but we know he'll get minutes.
He will, yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith, if Luka has a good game, Dorian Finney-Smith should at least get, these 7 shots. Which, I mean, if he gets 7 shots, he's probably going to have 20 points. So we'll be happy with that. Jabari Smith, we already talked about why we like it.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic, no need to explain. Westbrook, back against his former team. And if these two go off, they're going to probably have 9-10 assists. Aaron Gordon's a perfect guy to bring along with it. And then Embiid's Embiid. Like, there is a Laker. So, no star from the Lakers. Avoiding the blowout game potential with Houston.
And I was telling you, without the Lakers having a prominent big man, and we'll just say it that way, like they have Hayes, he's athletic, he's big enough, he's been able to kind of fill in that center role. They also signed Alex Len, but what they basically have done is use LeBron James in more of a strong power forward center hybrid role, using him and Rui. So Rui's minutes have went up. Rui's done very well when he's gotten more minutes. They thought they were going to get more from Vanderbilt. He hasn't been giving him the production they were hoping. But Finney-Smith, to your point, has done very well. Him
and Luka know each other. He's a perfect Luka player.
And I think they brought him in to kind of be a Terrian Smith kind of guy, like they had last year. He's actually exceeded that. I think he's kind of turned back the clock. I'm really impressed with his offensive production. He's not just a body on defense that can get some rebounds. And because they don't have a traditional big, he's having to play, down low, in front of the basketball. That opens up the rebounds for him and Rui, things like that. So those things do matter in the NBA.
No, last year when he got sent over to Dallas,
mm-hmm.
he did that well, and that's why he's here now. Like, and another guy, Finney-Smith, just kind of reminds me of him, who's really bought in. He doesn't play on this slate, but it's just someone that I know we both have. Everyone's talked about him a lot. Bol Bol's been playing really, really well lately, in a decent minute count. Like, he's fixed his jump shot. He's buying in on defense. He's boxing out and getting rebounds. Bobo might actually have an NBA career, not an all-star, but a career now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Somebody off the bench is going to play well too. Maybe I leave in Wilson because I'm struggling to put in a small forward that I actually trust. With
small forward, how much are you looking at price range? Small forward,
like 4K is what I'm stuck at here. I'm gonna refresh my page. I can do some things. I can get off Embiid. I can play Alonzo Ball. I can get off shooting guard, for example, and pay down. But the guys, I'll just show you my lineup, and maybe this is a good way to transition to do this. The guys I don't want to get off tonight are Hayes and Gordon, personally. And I want to play Luka to be different because I think everyone will want to play LeBron. He's coming off some 50-point games. He's had to do that, though. And because Luka was on basically a load management situation, I could see LeBron being like, hey, I want to pump the brakes now. Give me a night off.
LeBron will do that, too. Like, right. LeBron does not want to be on ball as much as he's forced to be.
So that's exactly it.
Luka is going to be come the playoffs when they get there, and they will get there. I'm not sure if they'll be a contender, but they'll be around. Luka is the ball handler, not LeBron.
But I have to make this decision, Donnie, because if I lock it, B locks in the next 2 minutes. Everything else is open. If I get off of Wilson, I think I have to get off in B. I'm not really seeing anything I like without saving at center. Obviously, go back to Cleon. He would be my primary center, and then I can maneuver off of that. Or do I just play Wilson because his ownership's going to dip because he's not starting? But there's an easy chance.
You could do Dorian Finney-Smith.
I could do Smith. Yeah, I could do Smith.
That's who I would go. That's who I'm playing. I mean,
He's probably I'll do that.
And if you're playing with Luka, you have to play for the assist as well.
To be honest with you, I didn't know I had the extra 100 to get to Finney-Smith, and I did. So that's a good use of it.
Like, I mean, the thing about NBA, man, it's so different because it really is time consuming. Like, we spent the past 29 minutes looking at potential lineups based on who's going to be in and out that we don't know. We know nothing about.
And we got lucky that because some nights there's 5 games on set at 7, and then there's like 2 games at 7:30, and the rest of them don't start until 10. Sometimes that happens, Donnie, and then you get so many starting lineups you have to try to adjust in the next 15 minutes. And then you're like, well, I can't adjust everything because these last 2 games start at 10. So then you have to almost project. And that's why I think I told you a couple of years ago, I either bottom out in NBA, like I'll finish dead last, or I'll do really, really well. Like I don't min cash in NBA very often.
Did you get Westbrook in your lineup or no?
I did not.
Man, I feel like that's such a miss. I think he has to be.
What if Murray plays?
What?
That's a better question, though. So what's the percentage that Murray plays? Like, what's the percentage chance?
He's going to play. He's listed as probable.
See, if Murray plays, I don't know if I like Westbrook.
It hasn't stopped him from performing.
See, I like.
It hasn't stopped him at all.
See,
he's still going to play 27 minutes, no matter what.
Yeah.
And if they baby Murray, which I don't want to say like that is a bad thing, like if they just nurse his injury as they should, it's left knee inflammation. Westbrook is gonna get you at least his typical, hey, I'm gonna have 10, 8, and 2 or 10, 8, and 5 or whatever. Like it's gonna be a weird game. That's just Westbrook.
I love Jalen Green. I've loved this guy's talent. I'm a little scared of this play because he got 39 minutes last night. Got 51 points. So the upside's definitely there. And now they have more injuries than they did the previous night they played this game. And so he should get all the usage. Fred VanVleet's still out. I want to play him, but every time I play this guy with any expectation, Donnie, he always disappoints me. But 7,200, I don't think his price has moved enough. But you see it, like 51 points, 9. So he is definitely a boom or bust guy. But that's exactly how I play. This is the guy you would never touch, for example, right?
The reason why I don't touch Jalen Green specifically today is because he literally just played 40 minutes yesterday. Yeah. Chances are you're not coming back and doing something crazy.
And I want to mention that because you're smartly conservative, like you make really good decisions, but you tend to be more of a conservative thinker, and I tend to take more chances. So I thought that would be a perfect player to use that example.
I actually really love Jalen Green's talent, and I mean, he is the guy there. I don't know how he's not the highest priced Rocket. Like, truly, I don't see how Amin Thompson is so highly priced. That's just ridiculous to me. They should be the same price. You're averaging 34 fantasy points if I round up, and you're 1,600 more. Yeah, no, I'll pass.
So Underdog, I do have a bit of an update here, Donnie. Underdog is still saying Jamal Murray is still legit questionable. But
DraftKings says Murray is listed as probable for Saturday's game due to left knee, but it's left knee inflammation. So that could literally, that could
spark up in the warm-ups.
Yeah.
Which is also why it's a good play if people are projecting him to start. and you think that knee's going to flare up by the end of the first quarter, you know, that first TV timeout, everyone's excited and they're like, oh, well, Murray doesn't look like he's walking quite right. That Russell Westbrook play is going to look phenomenal because you're going to get the ownership as if he's a backup player. But if you're playing him like he's going to get big minutes, and he's done fantastic in Denver. I know we don't talk enough NBA so far this season. He's done fantastic. It might be his best season, truly.
Well, no, we're close to his best season. Best season as a role player, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I'm not saying in his prime, obviously. I'm saying it's the best season he's had in a while, especially given the what people expected from him.
It's probably his best season since the Wizards, which the Wizards was a weird year.
Yeah. It was some of our first content outside of football was that best ball draft that we did, and I was so high on Russell Westbrook as a Laker. I've been high on him his whole career, basically.
But you just don't get him under 6K.
Yeah,
that's like
you're playing him, and I'm not. It just doesn't feel right, does it? It feels strange.
No, I see. That's the thing. I've always liked the way Westbrook plays fantasy-wise. I just don't like inconsistent basketball players, and he's just inconsistent shooting. This year, though, weirdly enough, he's very consistent shooting. It's his best shooting year in, God, I don't know how long. It might be his best shooting year ever.
Yeah.
I'll look that up.
I'll show this quickly while you do that. They do, Underdog is now projecting Aaron Gordon is expected to play. He will be available after what they consider injury management, but that's just like being precautious. Same with LeBron James. He is expected to play.
LeBron's always questionable. Every game, right. LeBron's questionable.
But essentially, they're saying the questionable tag's off LeBron, it's off of Gordon, and also off of Luka. So this is one of the few games where we will see Luka and LeBron together. And I do think, whether you like it or not, I do think Luka was out of shape. I do think some of the fat narrative around him was really just a disgusting, like, come on, yeah, he might not be the most conditioned NBA player, but that might be just a factor of him. Like, that might, he might not be the LeBron James guy sleeping in the hyperbaric chambers and that kind of thing. He's still a superstar, player that should be respected, and he should be healthier now, given that he had so much time off. So
just to clarify, this is his most efficient shooting season, Westbrook's, ever, if you count from the field, and his most efficient from behind the arc since 2016 when he went.
That's what I was getting at. Like, statistically, it might be his best year. Obviously, I don't think it's his prime year.
The dude's shooting almost 50% from the field. That's never happened for Westbrook.
It's never happened. It's never had to.
This is literally his best percentage from the field ever.
Yeah. In his prime years, he was giving triple doubles and dunking like John Moran or Derrick Rose, so he didn't need to. And now he's had to. He basically, if he did not do this, Donnie, he was going to be removed after his poor shooting performances with the Lakers. He was, what?
Well, no, he was fine on the Clippers. Like, the Clippers, he made enough impact where it didn't matter. Like,
that's what I'm saying. When he got to the Clippers, I think that's when he started to retool his shooting.
That was make or break for him.
Right, he needed to do it then. And now Denver, he's really blossoming. Obviously, when you have Murray, when you have Joker, and you have all these other talented guys around you, there's less expected from him. When he was with the Lakers, he was the second or third guy with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like,
he was expected, when Anthony Davis or LeBron needed a break, he was expected to come in and be something that he just wasn't anymore. And that's why I was never going to be on the Westbrook thing that point. I didn't enjoy Westbrook as an MVP. I didn't like watching him play. I thought it was boring basketball. Like, as exciting as his plays were, it's not my style. It was too much flash and very inconsistent. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to enjoy watching my MVP shoot 30% from the field unless it's a center.
I thought we would see a lower owned Embiid. I'll switch over to my screen if it's not showing already. It isn't. But you can see I got Embiid at 12% owned.
It's not showing right now.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. You should see it now. So basically 13%. We'll give him the extra boost there. But I think that's really good for a superstar. Like I said, with Cleon News, with Claxton, the value was at center. So I think a lot of people got off of Embiid, or they went up to Joker. if you actually went with that 2 center lineup you were talking about, Donnie, that would be impressive. I don't know if you actually played or if
I did.
Man, that's crazy that you got both.
I have Embiid, Westbrook, Joker in a lineup. Like that's
now. Granted, some nights this would be really stupid because you're like, well, I need 60 points from both superstars. Donnie, there is only 4. This is only a 4-game slate. Like obviously more than 4 teams playing. You know, you got to double that. Even I can do that mathematically. But when it's a smaller slate, the jam it in superstar lineups do tend to work out very well. And especially if you assume that Embiid is going to get 60 points and Joker will get 60 points and nobody else will get 40, 48 or 50, that's when you can really set it apart.
This is what really hurts him. But okay, so he had 23 points against Boston. When's the last time Embiid had a good game against the Celtics? I'd love to know. It doesn't happen. They defend him well.
And that's also why I'm playing him, because he's playing a bunch of backups in Brooklyn, let's be honest. They were backups even if that team was fully healthy, and they're not fully healthy now. You know? So I like it.
It's very more likely that he scores the 62 like he did against Dallas than it is that he scores 23 again.
He's not playing one of those superstar teams. He's not playing a Joker.
Speaking of playing superstar teams, by the way.
Yeah.
I saw something earlier today and I was like, that's weird, and I didn't expect to see it. Apparently the Knicks have yet to beat one of the top 3 seeds in the East. It's like the top 3 seeds in the NBA. They have not beat the Thunder, they have not beat the Celtics, they have not beat the Cavs. So like the Knicks might just be sneaky, not sneaky bad, not in a bad way, like just they can't compete with the top dogs, it seems.
Maybe, and you care more about statistics than I do, so that's what makes our show so unique. Because I think
I like that Knicks team, how it's constructed and everything. I'm not a huge Brunson guy. I don't think you could be like the championship contender with Brunson being the guy offensively, but you have Cat around, so it's like, do you need him to be the guy? Like some nights Cat will be it, some nights someone else will come out of nowhere and be it. So I think that team can win a championship, but I think they are a step behind those other guys, and it's kind of showed when they played, even though the Knicks get a little injured. But that's Dib's fault because he plays them all 40 minutes a night.
Well, that's why I love doing the DFS shows with either you, Gov, or myself, is we all have very different processes and very different ways to digest the information, but we always usually are around the same type of guys. We cheer for a lot of the same stuff. And we're very smart DFS guys. And I think a lot of that gets lost when people are looking for touts or they're looking for expert picks. Just give me the lineup, man, or just give me the top scorer. I can't tell you who's going to be the top scorer tonight. I can tell you that Embiid and Joker and Jalen Green are coming off of 50-point games, and maybe Russell Westbrook is too cheap. But it's a puzzle piece, Donnie. Even if I could tell you, even if we knew, for example, plug in Joker for 75 points, I don't even know if I could build a winning lineup just with that information.
I've had it. I forget. It was last year when there was a free lineup that came out. It was a high-scoring NBA night. And I think it was Luka in my lineup. It was Luka or Joker, and they dropped like 75 to 80 points in fantasy. And I was like, I went to bed and I was like, shit, I'm locked to win. I'm not losing.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning and I wasn't even close to the cash line. I was so pissed.
It happens sometimes, though. Like, and I do think people have this dictation of like, oh, well, if I got so much right in my lineup, and I love the NBA, and I have NBA League Pass like me and Donnie do, and we consume NBA. Let's be honest, NBA is a fun gossip sport too. There's a lot of trades. There's a lot of like player podcasts. We mentioned it with Paul George. There's a lot of gossip out there, so it's a fun, like, just a reality show to follow NBA.
I hate playing DFS NBA when the Celtics play because I'm biased towards the Celtics, and I always say never play a Celtic because you never know which one. You've heard me say that a million times. Just don't play a Celtic because any night anything can happen. Well, I hate playing with the Knicks as well. Because the Knicks are like, someone's playing 44 minutes. Probably a whole 4 group of people are playing 40 minutes like it's the playoffs. And I hate it because I like the cheaper rotational guy, not the middle price man.
We talk about this a lot in the NFL though. Like when we draft our lineups, and we have more time to do so, and it's easier to digest. But you have to build yourself a narrative. We've talked a lot about that in our NFL lineup. I don't think enough of that gets built in NBA because there's no like given strategy. There's not a stack. NFL, you probably should take a quarterback and a wide receiver. In NBA, it's basically minutes and opportunities. Like even if there's 3 guys on the same team, that could be a great lineup if all 3 of those guys were like 3K or 4K.
Well, and it's kind of a point that was made in the video I sent to you. I don't know if you had watched it, but it's like in the NBA, any guy, like literally anybody on the court can do pretty much anything now. The floor is so spread out. Someone's going to be open one night, and you don't know who it's going to be. It's not like the old school NBA where it's okay. Yeah, a lot of things are very narrow. It's going to go through your big man. And okay, someone will shoot a long mid-range. That's just inefficient. It's like, no, they're going to get someone an open 3. They don't care who, and they're going to shoot it. And it's a different league when it's like that because everyone's so talented.
It is. And I don't want to make that seem like we don't appreciate superstars. We do. I think in the NBA, what goes underappreciated with superstars, it's consistency. It's
I harp on the consistent superstars all the time. Like I love the Celtics and I love watching, them play. But Tatum frustrates me because he's too inconsistent. Granted, this year he's been better. And it seems like I say that every year. He's so inconsistent sometimes. It's like, man, It's hard to watch. I didn't love Kobe. I know people like, top 10 player of all time. And maybe he is a top 10 player of all time. I don't really care. He's not my style of basketball player. I love his mentality and I love what he stood for. But he's not I would not start off my basketball team saying I need Kobe on.
Well, for example, the reason Joker is 12,000, he is of course a triple-double threat. He has all these great unique abilities. He is totally a unicorn. Giannis exactly the same. What makes them uniquely worth that price on a nightly basis in a lot of cases is the fact that it's not that Joker can get 50 points. Even Jalen Green, for example, can get 50. Or, Westbrook could go ahead and score 40 in this lineup for Donnie, and it would be a great night. The superstars do that consistently, Donnie. Joker's putting up 60 consistently.
Joker's not getting you 35. And if he does, well, you really just got unlucky.
So the Stars and Scrubs lineup, I think, is extremely more valuable in NBA than it is in NFL. I use it in both because that's just the way I like to do things. Like, I'm very risk averse. That's just how I get my thrills. Like, because when I'm right, I really want to be right. I know we were right a couple of years ago about St. Brown, and me and Donnie are still victory lapping that. When I'm right, I really want to hit it, and then I will come on here and be more transparent. We did that earlier this afternoon. People should watch that if they haven't. We did a season review where we went through all of our takes, gave points, allocated different markers, and I was able to eat some of those losses, and that's fine with me. But when I'm right, I really want to be right, and I think NBA is a perfect sport for that. There are guys like Derrick Jones Jr.
Hey, Killian Hayes already got 2 assists. That's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice. But I will say there are guys like Derrick Jones Jr. that I think he's playing for the Clippers right now. He will get 20, 30 minutes, Donnie, and he doesn't do much with it. So there are still guys.
No, there are guys that like weirdly just don't do much with what they have.
So I don't want to give off this idea that, minutes are king. Minutes should be paid attention to in the NBA far more than any other sport, but they still don't they're still not a guarantee. So I do think you have to take more chances. Anything else you want to mention about the NBA before we get out of here?
Really? No, I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. I didn't even realize there was NBA earlier today. There was a game.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and I will just say, as we were prepping a slate in how to prepare news, you do have to be careful of that because in a smaller slate where it's like all the games start at 7 and you're getting prepared and you're like, okay, I'm ready. Any news? I will admit some of that news dropping in the middle of me trying to prepare for the 7:30 lock really messed me up. Like I guess Gafford from the Dallas Mavericks came back off of injury, so they were like Saturday news. Gafford come back. I'm like Gafford's not in the slate. What? And like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Those are early games, so you got to be careful what slate you do enter. Maybe at some point we'll bring up some NBA Showdown because I know Gov obviously loves Showdown in NFL, but he really loves it in the NBA. That's how he makes a lot of his profits. That's a whole different animal, Donnie. If you've never experienced that Showdown,
I've
NBA.
never done NBA Showdown, and God, I don't
imagine. We just talked about how minute terms.
You talk about. I mean, actually, I might enjoy it in NBA, but
You
man,
might.
I'm the biggest Showdown disgracer. NBA though, I do think it would be interesting.
It's been a couple years, but I remember Gov telling me there was a huge edge. I'm like, dude, that just seems like.
Well, if you know the rotation, like if you got a Knicks versus whatever,
yeah.
you just don't play any Knicks bench, play all Knicks starters, and play the other team bench,
Well,
basically.
that is a great point that you have to know each team. Like each team runs their rotation very differently.
And it's just how they run their offense. Like people, it's a very unique NBA we're in right now.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that was exactly Gov's point was that in the Showdown, not enough people know that different coaches run different philosophies. Like Tibbs is known for running a lot of starters, very high minutes, like high 30s. Joe Mazzulla, for example, runs a very different system. You know,
Joe Mazzulla is a lot of driving kick and let Tatum have the ball, try and get his random pull-up jumper.
Yep.
And then, you will just kick it out if it's not there.
Or he experiments with his bigs a lot, during the season, like things like that.
He will switch out his bigs like a bunch. He loves to rest the old guys. The old guys don't need to play this. It don't matter. It's a little regular season game. Who cares? That's his mindset.
And so you have to adjust. And then if there's only 2 games, Donnie, that's a huge edge in Showdown. So I know we got a lot of Showdown questions a couple of weeks ago with the NFL. That there's just a lot of fun ways to play DFS. I wanted to present this as an opportunity to see how it was, how the sausage gets made in a different sport, because I think a lot of people play NFL. It's like their marquee sport, and people don't experiment. Like even I'm playing a free NASCAR contest, tomorrow. Like you should take advantage of all the free contests. Try a different sport, try golf.
My biggest cash ever still is on an MLB World Series matchup that I knew nothing about. I knew literally 2 players on the whole team, and that was my biggest win ever.
And by the way, if we ever do get large, now that we'll have an office space or like we'll run a podcast out of a studio, but I do want to adapt this idea that you take a starting jersey from a big win that you have. So like if Joker went out and scored 70 points for Donnie tonight, I think he should get that jersey of that guy. Like those big moments, I'm going to adapt that.
He'd probably rather me donate it to a horse race or something.
He would. The kind of guy he is.
All right. Well, I think that's good. I think we've done the NBA its justice. Obviously, me and Logan will continue to watch for locks and changes, but no reason to push this for too long. You guys get the gist.
I do think this is a good, when you're locked into the NBA, you're always paying attention to the news. It might not be a great couples a night. Like if you're playing a date night, don't play NBA. But if you need a bachelor's night, we're just having some fun with the boys. NBA is a great follow. So with that being said, we'll follow on out of here. Thanks for joining us. See you in a couple weeks.